All right, and welcome back again to the Paisan Sports podcast presented by Elevation 5280 Sports, coming to you on a Friday. Not typical of us, but we had some issues earlier in the week. But we're coming to you live on a Friday. Dante DePlacido, joined as always by Zach Deal of What's the Deal Sports. So I got to ask, what's the deal with Halloween? They say you got to trick or treat. But if you don't give a treat, you get tricked. What is going on?
Did you dress up for Halloween this year or go out to any parties or anything like that? Or
I went to a Halloween party a couple weeks ago. It was a last minute thing. I just threw together a half-assed Billy Butcher costume, and that was the extent of my Halloween festivities.
that's all you got?
Yeah, that's all I did.
Like
How are
when,
you?
when we're talking about half-ass effort, like how half-ass effort are we talking?
All right, do you know? Well, have you seen The Boys? Have you seen that show?
Nah, let me look it up real quick. I'm making the
Look up,
title on
look
Facebook
up,
to
just look
repost,
up
but
Billy Butcher. Just look up Billy Butcher, or I'll pull it up on my phone. I actually have a picture of me in the costume as well. Um, it's
all right,
it's
I'm looking
really
at it right
hardly
now.
even the costume. All right, so now
I mean,
this
it
is
looks like
like
you had the beard and possibly the hair already going for you. So
yeah. I already got the beard and the hair, but now here's the thing: like with this photo, right? He's got like the duster and like a black shirt underneath. That's early season Billy Butcher, but in the more recent seasons, what's getting memed a lot is he'll wear like a colorful floral shirt underneath the duster, and I have one of those. So that's kind of I didn't have a duster. I just wore a leather jacket. I didn't have boots. He wears boots. I don't even own a pair of boots. So I just wore Vans. So it was like it
yeah.
wasn't like really like
Those are like key
recognizable.
essentials to make the outfit like make it look
It was the
more.
last minute. It was the last minute thing. I threw together whatever costume I could think
All right,
of.
well, you
Okay,
could have put some more effort in. You could have ran to the mall or did something to find some boots or asked
it was
somebody.
when I say last minute, I mean this was like 8 o'clock at night. All right, and then an hour later, I was at the party. So no, there was nothing I could do. That was the best I could do. I'm trying to find the picture. Hold on. There we go. It's extremely half-assed.
Oh, that's not even close, dude.
What are you gonna do?
White
It was
shirt
the last
underneath.
minute.
I literally of
That was
all
not
these
white.
players.
That was not white. That's pink. It's a
Let me
it's a
see.
pink floral. It's a pink floral shirt.
All right, well, before you had it zoomed in, it's like blending in with
Well,
the
you can't really
background.
tell in the photo through the laptop, but yeah, because like, all right, if I go on like TikTok and I search like the way people like meme him on like TikTok and stuff, it's more of like a floral type thing. Like you see what I mean? They'll wear like
Yeah,
a
I
more
saw that.
floral
I
shirt
saw
like
one
that.
picture that looks like that. All right, well, yeah, I
Oh
definitely
yeah,
get.
yeah, like yeah, they're like showing like different floral shirts, colorful drawings. So that's kind of what I had on.
I definitely,
Anyhow, enough of the Halloween. Enough of the Halloween.
yeah. Well, I mean,
Uh,
you picked it as a segment. Real quickly, I
it
wanted to
wasn't a
do like
segment. It was a what's the deal?
yeah,
Well, yeah,
well, a part of the what's the deal
I didn't want to
segment.
spend 5 minutes on it.
Okay, well, real quick, you were showing me pictures and stuff, so I was trying to give you the stage
What do
and
you
allow
ask?
you to explain yourself. But real quickly, before we move on from the what's the deal segment, I want to ask what's the deal to you about all these NFL players that are dropping the ball before they reach the goal line in the NFL. We saw it on Thursday Night Football last night for what would have been the first touchdown of the game. Everybody remembers the infamous Deshaun Jackson incident, and I feel like we see it probably the rarity of that play is just it's not even rare anymore. It's not a seldom play to happen. It's something that you probably see like every 2 to 3 weeks in college football or the NFL of a player dropping the ball before they get to the goal line. Like I don't even understand what goes through people's minds or like why they're even trying to do that.
You ever see those? You ever watch the news and before they cut to the commercial? They'll be like, there may be something you're doing every day that could actually be killing you. And then they'll be like, find out more at 11. And it's like, tell me what might be killing me. They'll be like, you do it every single hour and it might be killing you. And then you have to wait till 11. It's like, what the hell? It's to get you to keep watching until 11. Okay. The point I'm going with this is you already know this is one of my meatball of the weeks. So find out more at 11.
Okay. All right. I was trying to figure out how you were going to tie it in, but just speak on that situation in general. Like, I know, you just teased what, pretty much everybody can see what's happening there, but why do you think players do that? Why do you think that's such a popular celebration?
Here's what I've noticed. It's way more common in college football. It happens quite often in college. You rarely see it happen in the pros. So I think it's just, and when it happens in the pros, it's usually a rookie. It happened to Sean Jackson's rookie year. Last night it was a rookie. So I think it's age and maturity is part of it. I think it's scoring your first touchdown and getting a little too excited is part of it. Deshaun Jackson, it was his first would have been his first NFL touchdown. Same thing last night. So I think it's just like they're young, they're immature, they're about to score their first touchdown, or if they're in college, maybe it's their first college touchdown, and they just get a little too excited, and they drop. I think it's incredibly stupid. Don't get me wrong. Just wait until you get in the end zone. It's not hard, but that's my theory behind it.
And the rule is if there's no clear recovery, then the team, it's a fumble on the 1 yard line, they get the ball back. But in the case last night, the ball rolled out of the back of the end zone, so they lost the ball in the possession, and that could have been a crucial play with how the Jets were playing in the beginning of the game. But let's move on. Let's talk about the hometown Philadelphia Eagles. They went into Cincinnati as underdogs last Sunday, and they just handled business. I think the spread was it was
minus
somewhere between 2.5.
The Eagles were plus 2.5. It was plus 2.5 for the Eagles.
2.5. The money line was like plus 130, and it wasn't even that close. I mean, it started off a little bit close. Cincinnati went down and really beat down the defense. Joe Burrow looked phenomenal on the first drive. Really just chewed up the defense until they got into the end zone, and it kind of looked like the way that the game started in that fashion that the Eagles defense could be in for a long day, and they completely neutralized the Cincinnati Bengals high-powered offense after that. So I know they were missing T. Higgins, but Jamar Chase is still on the field. You still got Joe Burrow, who's been playing phenomenal this year and not turning the ball over, and they created a turnover later in the game. So what was your thoughts on the defense's performance versus the Cincinnati offense on the road?
I thought the second half the defense looked tremendous. First half, they were really getting gashed by Mike Gesicki, of all people. He was really tearing up our defense in the first half, but in the second half, the defense was
a lot of quick throws too. It was a lot of passes that were just coming out of Joe Burrow's hands really quickly, and they were seemed like they weren't getting the same pass rush as they were in weeks past. And it looked like I said from the beginning of the game, after that first drive, I think a lot of people, especially they chewed 10 minutes a clock. It was the longest drive in the NFL up into that.
It was such a long drive.
Like it was going to be a long day.
It was such a long drive that the Eagles finally scored points on their opening drive, but it still wasn't in the first quarter because that's how long the Bengals drive was, which is something I want to touch on later. But the thing about the defense, first of all, another great performance by Nakobe Dean, a guy who looked pretty shaky at the start of the season, and now that's back-to-back phenomenal performances by him. Zach Bond looking great yet again. The two of them were the highest graded linebackers across the league this past weekend. So phenomenal performances by them. What I want to talk about with the secondary is when the season started, Quinyon Mitchell, teams were targeting him, right? Because he's young, he's a rookie. You have an all-pro corner Slay on one end. Let's target the rookie. Let's target Quinyon Mitchell. Teams were going after him, and he was giving them nothing. He was shutting that down. It's gotten to the point now where they only threw at Quinyon's direction. Thought I had that on silent. They only threw at Quinyon's direction twice the whole game. And I think he allowed one catch for like a small amount of yardage. But now the guy they're targeting is the other rookie, Cooper DeJean. And he's not allowing anything either. I mean, they tried to run that motion with Jamar Chase on that 4th and 1 that, I mean, if Avonte Maddox would have broke his ankles before the play was even snapped. And Quinyon stuck with it the whole way, made a phenomenal tackle. He's looking phenomenal. He's making great tackles. He's doing well in coverage. And I think the secondary looks really good, and a lot of people are discounting Darius Slay. He's no longer prime Slay, don't get me wrong, but he still looks good out there. I mean, he saved
good. I'm just getting nervous about how
the touchdown at one point. Yeah, but I mean, he saved the touchdown.
Like the past couple of weeks, he's really been gutting out, and he hasn't been 100% healthy. And then he gets hurt in the game as well, and then has to come out of the game. But even with that happening, you get a guy like Isaiah Rodgers comes in, or if it's Keeley Ringo, and the times where that has
Isaiah Rodgers made a phenomenal play as well.
They're making plays and turnovers. And that's the one thing that you can probably say about this defense that they could do a better job at is getting the ball back to their offense, because they don't really create too many turnovers. But I don't know. CJ Gardner-Johnson got that one the other day. Maybe it sparks them. When they first got CJ Gardner-Johnson from the Saints before the season of 2022, and they went on that crazy run to the Super Bowl, he got banged up. But before he got banged up, he had like 6 picks in like 11 games. So it was good to see CJ ball hawking once again.
And I'll say this. When you think about the times in recent memory, the Eagles have had a great secondary. There haven't been many seasons with a great secondary for the Eagles in recent memory. Usually we end up with a pretty bad secondary with the Cary Williams of the world, the Bradley Fletchers of the world, the 2023 James Bradburys of the world, the Byron Maxwells of the world, Leotis McKelvin. I could go on for a while naming poor players in the Eagles secondary. But the two outlier years were 2017 and 2022. 2022, James Bradbury and Slay were both in their prime that year. They looked phenomenal. You had a prime Gardner-Johnson in the secondary who looked a lot better than he did in the early parts of this season. And then 2017, I think we had an amazing secondary. Patrick Robinson being the standout in the nickel. He had a phenomenal year. Jalen Mills looked really good that year. And then, of course, you had the safeties of Malcolm Jenkins and Rodney McLeod. And those are the 2 years we went to the Super Bowl. I'm not saying this means we're going to the Super Bowl now, but I think it's very encouraging to see an Eagles secondary performing this well.
Yeah, for sure. And it's not even like it's a product of the defensive line getting home and getting pressure. I mean, that does help, and that has happened over the past couple of weeks, but they're just holding up in coverage well to begin with, even without when they're not generating pressure. So that's definitely a good sign. And to make those investments and to see the return that they're already getting, a lot of people questioned when they spent that much draft capital on the defensive backs, but they knew that they had to get better talent into the room. And it looks like they're set up for the future, and there's guys that can fit on the roster, and there's so many players. It seems like there's so much talent. Like after you see a play like that from Isaiah Rodgers this weekend, you're like, oh, I want to see him play a little bit more, but you still have Darius Slay out there, and then you got the 2 rookies, and then the safeties are playing well. And it's almost like they have like a influx of talent where they could get rid of some talent at the trade deadline and maybe get back some draft capital because of the wise decisions that they made in the draft this year. So, yeah, I'm really excited. Speaking of the trade deadline, if you had to add anything to the Eagles roster right now, which side of the ball are you looking at, and which area would you target to further ramp up this team and get them in the best shape possible with the best players?
I mean, I can't really say one side of the ball because I think their two biggest needs are defensive line and third wide receiver. So I think either or would be fantastic. There's a lot of edge rushers available, but what I think they need most is another interior defensive lineman, someone to eat some of those double teams that Jalen Carter keeps getting, get him some help on the inside of the D line, let him get more one-on-ones. So I think that would be best, but the market really has more edge rushers than anything. And then obviously, I mean, this team, as good as they are, they need a third wide receiver because Jahan Dotson is
Do you
doing
think they would
absolutely.
make another investment in third wide receiver with
I think
them
you
overpaying
have
already?
to. I think you have to, and I don't think you should look at it as another investment. I mean, Devontae Smith, when they drafted him, that was another investment. You know, the year before they used a first round pick on Jalen Reagor. The year before that, they used a second round pick on JJ Arcega-Whiteside, right? So and nothing was stopping them from being like, all right, let's do it again. And
I know, but
it's
when you're
worked out.
paying, it's a different situation when you know somebody's a draft bust to when you already have two high-profile wide receivers on the roster, and then you went out and made a
I
trade
don't
to
think they need to go out and get a high profile wide receiver, just somebody that can do something, literally
Well, I
anything.
would like to see them promote from within. I mean, Aeneas Smith just came off the IR, so he's somebody that's another body that's
Yeah.
available, and somebody that was a guy that they used a draft pick on. He was drafted even higher than Johnny Wilson, and he was seen as somebody that can run the slot routes, and maybe we can see what he can do. So I think if they're going to add anything to the roster, I think it would just be a veteran pass rushing type help or interior defensive lineman. That's what I would like to see them go out and target and get. So maybe
Yeah.
even a backup running back to spell Saquon a little bit, somebody that
I
can
like
really.
Kenny Gainwell. I like
I
Will
mean, Kenny
Shipley.
Gainwell's good enough. I don't think it's a need, but like,
Will Shipley should have got his first touchdown this
yeah,
past Sunday.
it's funny. The first person I thought of when the Will Shipley scored that touchdown was you, and how you had him on your fantasy bench, and like that's just like the most
He's
random
still
thing.
sitting on that bench, baby. He's warming up that bench, just waiting for the call.
Yeah, that was upsetting. The offense played really well versus Cincinnati, though. I was happy with the way that they performed. They got the ball down the field and they just kind of stayed into their identity. And everybody wants them to claim being a running team or to pass the ball because they have all the wide receivers and the resources dumped into that with a high paid quarterback. But at the end of the day, if Jalen Hurts is going to play like that and score 3 rushing touchdowns, I don't care if they're 1 yard out or on the read option play where he scores from like 8 yards out. If he's going to play that way, it's going to be extremely hard to defend him running the ball, being able to throw the ball that deep and that accurately deep to his second wide receiver. AJ didn't even really have any big plays, and Saquon still got going. So, like we've said before, they still don't have Dallas Goedert. Their offense hasn't even fully clicked at any point this season, and they're still able to win games in that type of fashion. So they beat the Giants up by a huge margin, basically running the ball the entire game. And this game, outside of the Devontae Smith deep pass, they ran the ball a lot as well and just kept intermediate passes with Jalen mixing in some good throws. But I don't want to hear all this criticism because I think Jalen Hurts is playing extremely well right now. And we have to give
He looks great.
tip our caps to Jalen Hurts. Everybody sees 3 rushing touchdowns in the box score, and they're all like, oh, he's a running quarterback. All he does is the tush push. I mean, tell me a guy right now that throws the ball better deep than Jalen Hurts.
Jalen Hurts is one of the
And
most
not to cut you
accurate.
off real quickly, but the thing about him is with the way that he struggles passing in certain ways, like he doesn't like passing over the middle of the field, and that's sometimes where he struggles is not being able to do that. For a guy that they say has a weak arm to be that accurate deep all the time when he throws the ball is really impressive.
Yeah, when he throws it deep, he hardly misses. He hardly misses in general. Jalen Hurts gets a lot of hate. But I think with Jalen Hurts, his weakness is decision making. If Jalen Hurts is making a mistake or if he's turning it over or throwing an interception, it's because of poor decision making. It's never because of a bad throw. When you watch the games, he hardly makes any bad throws in general. I can't really allude to a recent throw of his where he sailed over the receiver's head, where he threw it to the dirt, where he threw an interception because he just missed his wide receiver and accidentally threw it to the DB.
Well,
I mean,
perfect example is
he is way more accurate of a passer than he gets credit for. He is
yeah.
laser accurate.
The perfect example is that swing pass that he threw to Kenny Gainwell this week, and that should have been a pick.
It was a bad decision. Yeah, it was a bad decision.
It was a really bad decision, but the ball was thrown so well that Kenny Gainwell was able to box out the defender.
Yeah, it was a horrible decision. It was a horrible decision.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, that should have been a pick,
throw.
And that should have been on the thing. But that's like the only throw I can remember in the past 3 weeks of where I'm saying to myself, that's a turnover-worthy play. That was really the
and the one thing that's weird is according to PFF, he didn't have any turnover worthy plays, but that was definitely one.
Yeah,
that was definitely maybe they scored it as not turnover worthy because the pass was so accurate that it was caught. I in terms of decision making, that was turnover worthy. But when you look at the entire play and including the throw to Kenny Gainwell, maybe it's not because it was thrown directly to Kenny Gainwell. I'm not sure, but yeah. One thing I want to say is I am a pioneer. Okay, I am a trendsetter.
Did you go to Clearview? Did you go to Clearview?
I'm guessing they're the Clearview Pioneers.
You don't know that, being from the Washington Township area?
Washington Township. First of all, I'm from Washington Township. We were the Minutemen. How would I know about Clearview? Second of all, I went to GCIT.
Washington Township and Clearview have like a giant rivalry. I know you didn't go there, but
I didn't go to Township. I went to GCIT. We were the Cheetahs.
I mean, I feel like that's still general knowledge that you should know, but
it's not general knowledge because of shit about Clearview. Anyhow, I can't tell you any school's mascot outside of Washington Township and GCIT. Except for West Deptford. I just know West Deptford because they're the Eagles. That's impossible to forget.
What about Pittman?
I don't know. No idea.
Kingsway.
Don't know.
All right.
Deptford, no idea. No. Are they the Tritons? No, I'm thinking of Triton High School.
The Spartans.
The Spartans. Yeah, okay. I knew that one. Anyhow, I'm a pioneer because after Nick Sirianni, actually, you know what? That's a good nickname. Holy shit. Nick Sirianni, because he shaved his head. I inadvertently just came up with that. Nick Sirianni. Oh, that's good.
People were acting out so crazy about him doing that. They're saying he's going through mental health issues, blah blah blah, this, that, the other. Like, dude, he shaved his head. Like, what? You guys are reading so deep into it. You guys, when there's something going on with one of the teams in Philadelphia, like any little story that comes out or anything that somebody does, even in their personal life, it gets taken to the 10th extreme. It's wild.
Anyway, back to what I was saying, though. I said after he shaved his head and the Eagles beat the Browns, I said if they somehow win the Super Bowl, I might have even used the term miraculously because that's just how the team looked a few weeks ago. But I said after he shaved his head, if the Eagles win the Super Bowl, that I would shave my head out of solidarity. I've been listening to the radio all week. A lot of people now willing to shave their heads. Not saying I didn't. I'm not saying I started it, but I'm also not saying I didn't start it. You get what I'm saying?
I don't know if you said it first or the one WIP.
I said it first. I damn sure said it first. I said it right away because I had the feeling because it was something that was so stupid that I had the feeling it was going to be the flower speech all over again. And we're 3-0 since then. I think I'm right. We need to stop calling it the Baldiani era, though, and start calling it the Sirianni era. I inadvertently came up with that. I think Sirianni is way better. Like shears. In case you didn't pick up
I
on
get where
that.
you're coming from. I think it's
Yeah.
clever. I think you
It's
didn't
great. It's great.
intentionally say that though. You literally mixed up your words on accident, and that's what came
But
out and produced it.
you
But that might make it even
matches
more authentic
matches
though.
were
That might
yeah,
be more authentic.
matches were invented on accident. Some great inventions happen on accident, like matches. Guy was
There's a lot of
stirring up
people
some
that were
chemicals,
invented
and
on
then got
accident.
gunked up on his stirring stick, and they tried to scrape off the chemicals, and it ignited. I was like, holy shit! Let me just make tiny versions of this.
How many people do you
Um,
know that were made on accident, Dante?
uh, I mean, at least 3 because of me. So there's 3 right there. Maybe even a 4th. I don't even know. I gotta do a better job at keeping tabs on that. Anyhow, I don't now. Let's talk a little bit about the upcoming game against Jacksonville. Um, for one, it's only our 3rd home game the entire season, which is crazy. But I haven't checked again, but 2 days ago I saw the injury report, and it looked quite concerning. I haven't checked again today after today's practice, but I saw names on there like Landon Dickerson, Jalen Carter, Mekhi Becton. Um, Devontae Smith did not practice today due to personal
No, he
reasons.
said he was going to be good though. He didn't practice for personal reasons. So
Yeah, well, that scared me for a second.
but this game got flexed from 8:15 to 4:25, 2 back-to-back flex games. I mean, I guess it was
Jalen
cool.
Carter. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm just going through Twitter. Jalen Carter did practice today, so that's a good sign. I think the biggest worry is the guys missing on the O line. Not Mekhi Becton. I like Tyler Steen better. You know this, but Landon Dickerson is not great. But anyway, back to what you were saying.
No, I was just saying this game got flexed out of the 8:15 slot back-to-back weeks that both games got flexed out. I guess the Bengals game getting flexed out was the right decision because it ended up being a blowout, but the Eagles are kind of getting disrespected by the public now after having high expectations, and I feel like they kind of like going under the radar a little bit and just being able to play football. So not too many times that you get the Eagles start at 4:25 at home in Philadelphia. So, that's something that's a rarity, but I like those type of games that fade into the nighttime. We'll get daylight savings time, so we'll probably get the darkness coming out a little bit sooner for this
Oh
game.
yeah,
And
daylight savings time is Sunday. Yeah, that's right.
do you think
Yeah,
this could be? Do you think the Eagles could put the nail in the Doug Peterson coffin, or what are you thinking about that? And how would you feel about that if that were to be the case? Because at the end of the day, obviously, Doug Peterson is the only coach in Eagles history to get them a Lombardi trophy. What is your ties to Doug Peterson, and how much do you root for him now?
I think this is just any other game. You know, that's how I'm looking at it. I'm not looking at it as it's us versus Doug Peterson, or could this end Doug Peterson's head coaching tenure in Jacksonville and the send him.
Do you think a
I
lot of
don't
that
care
has
about.
to do with the Jaguars being that bad, though?
Um, I don't think they're bad because of Doug Peterson. I think they just don't have a great roster. But
No, I'm
either
saying,
way,
do you think like you're not looking at it as like Doug Peterson coming back to Philadelphia to face the Eagles because it's like a meaningless game in the terms of the two teams aren't on the same level?
maybe I think what it mainly is I really want to see this team keep winning. And so most of my energy mentally is on, okay, we need to win this game. That's pretty much what it is. It's just that like I'm just so focused on them winning this game because they're starting to gain some momentum, and I really want to see them keep it going and make a serious run here. So I'm just so focused on them winning this game that I'm not even concerned with the fact we're facing Doug Peterson.
Yeah, and right now, honestly, the Jags' best player might be their rookie, Brian Thomas Jr. So we're going to see 3 of the top 10 best rookies in the entire league face off with each other this week. So I'm excited for those matchups. Brian Thomas has been holding down my one fantasy team, and he's somebody that the Eagles could have even been interested in if he fell to them at that pick, just with his traits and measurables and just this what LSU wide receivers are seen as, and he's been living up to the hype this year. I don't think Trevor Lawrence is bad at all either. I think Trevor Lawrence is actually quietly having a pretty good season. The Jags' issues are their offense gets flat at times, and it's hard. They haven't really been able to implement Gabe Davis, but I think Gabe Davis just makes himself hard to implement.
He's been collecting dust on my fantasy
He
bench.
used to do that. He used to do the same thing in Buffalo. Like he would have games where he'd have 3 catches for 132 yards and 2 touchdowns, with 2 of them being 40-plus yard touchdowns. And then there would be games where he's targeted 2 times and has 0 catches for 0 yards. Like he's so up and down. He's carried that over to the Jacksonville. They're out. Christian Kirk's out for the season. Travis Etienne hasn't been the same player. Tank Bigsby has been playing pretty well in the backfield for them, but they didn't have Evan Ingram for a long period of time, and he came back. He's probably their number 1 receiving option outside of Brian Thomas Jr. They just traded their left tackle to Minnesota before this week's or during this week, so they're not going to have Cam Robinson, who I think was on like a 1-year, $15+ million contract. So that's somebody they're already getting out of the loop. So they're already dumping off players. So it pretty much shows the state of Jacksonville right now and where they're going. And they're just not a good team. They're just not performing well. They need like a culture change, and I think it might be at the expense of Doug Peterson, which isn't something that I'm too happy about. But it just is what it is. It just seems like Trevor Lawrence and Doug Peterson don't click that well together, and I think the Eagles are going to be able to run the ball in this game. They're going to be able to hit pass plays over the top as well with their offense. And I think they're going to be able to hold this offense for the Jacksonville Jaguars in check to the point where they don't really have to worry about run defense as much because of the way that they're going to be leading in the game and making Trevor Lawrence drop back and pass almost every single down.
Yeah. I think a big key to this matchup, speaking of the rookie, is him versus Quinyon Mitchell, who, I mean, he's held his own thus far this season, even against standout rookies such as Malik Neighbors. I think matchup-wise, this is a game the Eagles should definitely win.
100%.
Some people are calling it a possible trap game, especially alluding to the fact we're facing Doug Peterson. But this is a game they should win. They're at home. This is the first time since they played the Falcons that they were at home and the vibes are good. When going into that game against the Browns at home, the fan base was very very irritated. But 3 straight wins. Now we get to come back home and face the Jags. The vibes are going to be high. Team's looking good. This is a game they should definitely win.
I think people were really anxious too to begin the season because they hadn't really dominated any team that they played, especially up until the Browns game. And then with the expectations, the way that the betting line was set, they didn't exceed the expectations and they fell up short. So people got really irritated. But I think as of right now, I don't think people are really looking into the Jacksonville Jaguars as being one of the worst teams in the league, and the Eagles need to go out there and just absolutely dominate them. I think everybody's on the same page now that the Eagles just have to keep winning, regardless of what fashion it is. And I think that's the way that the Eagles are looking at this game, and I think the way that the Eagles fan base is starting to look at the game the way that they should look at the game instead of, oh, this is automatically one of the worst teams in the league just based off their record, and wild stuff can't happen. Because how many times have we seen the Patriots upset a random team this year that's supposed to be a lot better than them? Like, upsets happen. It's just
definitely.
name of the sport. So I feel like people are just they hold these expectations because the Browns look so bad versus the Giants one week or this, that, the other, and you have to go out and cream this team. But at the end of the day, you just got to win the game. And I think on the winning streak that they are on now, I think people are just more focused on keeping that winning streak going and staying alive instead of going out there and just like trying to gain back some of their mental confidence being on a sputtering stretch and go out and dominate one of the bad teams.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with you. I talked previous on this podcast about how I think last year they were so focused on having a complete game, and they tried to fix things that weren't broke, and they went from trying to have a complete game to struggling to win a game.
Yeah.
So I think the main focus needs to just be winning. And I was thinking about it after the game against the Bengals ended. I am so glad that the Bengals game and the Giants game were both blowouts because now that's out of the way, right?
Yeah.
You want a complete game? There's two right there. There you go. There's your complete games. Now let's move on from that crap and let's just focus on winning each game, whether it's by a point or whether it's by 20 points.
And you get
So
like an added boosted point on top of that, the way that you dominated those games, them being on the road. And
yeah,
haven't even been given the luxury to play at home that many times this year. So the schedule's only going to get easier just based off the comfortability of playing at the link.
yeah. Well, the schedule, yes, is getting easier, but we have still not faced our toughest opponent, and that's the Baltimore Ravens. I think that's going to be a great matchup when it happens. You know what? While we're on the subject, I was actually looking at the Eagles' remaining schedule, and I was trying to predict which games I think are going to be a win and which are going to be a loss. I remember we did schedule predictions earlier before the season started, but
I think we both came up with what was it 14-3?
I'm not too sure, but I do. Here's my prediction for the second half of the season. Okay, I think the Jaguars game is going to be a win. I think the Cowboys game is going to be a win. I think
That specific Cowboys game is going to be a win in Dallas.
yeah, I think we win in Dallas in 2 weeks. Then I think we beat. I'm gonna say we lose to the Commanders following that win. I'm gonna say that
I'll
first
be at
Commanders
that
game,
game,
that's a
so I have
loss.
a pretty good winning streak or winning record while I'm in attendance at the link. So we'll see, but that'll be my first game.
You know what?
That is a tough really
Hold on.
stretch right
Wait,
there.
hold on. Sorry. This is coming back to me now. When I did my original schedule prediction, I said that was going to be a loss, and then the final game against the Commanders was going to be a win. But then when I realized the first game against the Commanders is a Thursday night game, I flip-flopped it because I have a lot of confidence in them in night games. So, I'm going to flip-flop it again. I'm going to say that one's a win. Then I'm going to say the game against the Rams is a win. Okay. Then they lose to the Ravens on the road. Then they beat the Panthers at home. Then they lose to the Steelers at home. Then they lose to the Commanders. And then they lose to the Cowboys. And then they finish off with a win against the Giants. Yeah. Yeah.
So you have a 4-5. You have them going 4-5 during a stretch to end the season.
No. What? No. I said they beat the Jaguars.
You said lose to the Ravens.
No. Whoa. Oh, you mean towards the end? Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, I can see that.
That's what you just said. So from the Ravens game,
I could see them going. I could see them going on a roll. And I'm just really it's just that I'm just looking at the schedule and I'm looking at games I could see them losing, and it's just lining up that way. Unfortunately, it's not because
you're like smiling and you're like happy about it, acting like the whole fan base isn't going to burn down the link if they go from a stretch of the end of November to throughout the entire December going 4-5, and you're acting like this whole city of Philadelphia is not going to burn down.
Well, no, it wouldn't be good. But I don't know. I'm just looking at the remaining games, and these are the games I can see them
I can
losing.
give you the Ravens game. I'll give you the Ravens game. I'll give you a Cowboys game. Maybe the Commanders, based off of like one of those two matchups, could be a loss, but I think
They're
they handle the
definitely going to
Steelers.
lose one to the Commanders. I think they're going to lose one to the Commanders. They're
I could
obviously
see
going
that.
to lose one to the Cowboys because that happens all the goddamn time. I can see them losing to
I
the
think the Commanders
Ravens.
are good. I think the Commanders have a really good shot at making the playoffs, but I also would not be surprised if the Eagles comfortably beat them twice. But that's not me saying that the Commanders are a bad team. It just might get to the point where the Eagles are clicking on all cylinders at that point in time, and they can beat
That's a
both of
good
them. I
point.
think they're both winnable games. But I think, the Cowboys are really going to get up for one of those games, so I think that's going to be a tough matchup. Either one
I
of
tell you
those.
what, I'll flip my Steelers prediction to an Eagles win. Oh, that I'll flip that to an
I
Eagles
think it would
win.
work out better. I could see where you're coming from if you flip the Eagles and Steelers. Eagles beating the Steelers because they've also had the Steelers numbers over the past couple of years. AJ Brown absolutely terrorized that secondary the last time they played. And maybe you flip the Cowboys loss after the Jags game, flip that to a loss in Dallas, but they beat the Cowboys at home. I think that would work out
I'm
better for the
holding
Eagles' chances.
firm on that Cowboys prediction. Matter of fact, I also made myself a prediction on the Cowboys the rest of the season, and it goes as follows. I think they beat the Falcons on Sunday. I think they followed that up with a loss to the Eagles, followed by, well, depends how the Texans what's going on with the Texans wide receivers? Are they going to be back by that time? 3 weeks from
Stephon
now?
Diggs is out for the year. Nico Collins has a
All
chance to
right.
come back in like a couple weeks. Either, he might have a chance from somewhere between after. Well, they're gonna have a 10-day layoff, right?
Yeah,
I
so
don't know.
I'm gonna say that they beat the Falcons, they lose to the Eagles. Nico Collins comes back. They still have Joe Mixon. I think they're gonna find a way to figure it out without Stephon Diggs. They're gonna beat the Cowboys on November 18th. Then the Cowboys, um, I think they're gonna beat the Commanders. Um, they're going to beat the Giants. They're going to lose to the Bengals. They're going to beat the Panthers. They're going to lose to the Buccaneers. They're going to beat the Eagles. And then they're going to lose to the Commanders on their final game of the season. That's my final prediction for the Cowboys.
So they would end up
Finishing
what,
with
like 10-7?
let me think. They're 3-4 right now, so that would make them three and no, that would make them 4-4, 4-5, 4-6, 5-6, 6-6, 6-7, 7-7, 7-8,
9-8 because of the
8-8,
Commanders last year.
9-8. Yeah, I think they finished either 9-8 or 8-9.
9-8's not going to make it
Honestly,
into the. Is not going to get them in the playoffs. I'll tell you
probably
that.
not. Probably not. And I think that 9-8 or 8-9 I think is a nightmare scenario for the Cowboys
You
because you
miss the
don't make it
playoffs
into
and
the
then you don't have a
playoffs.
high draft pick either.
Yeah, exactly. So I think
That
that's a
might
nightmare
honestly that
scenario
might
for
be a
them.
blessing for them though, because they wouldn't like be seen as the fan base wouldn't be like, oh, you guys are reaching for Ashton Genty if they want to like draft him, but he might even go higher than like a top 15 pick.
Ashton Genty is the way he's playing. He's definitely going to go top 15. This is
I
one of
mean,
the
hey, I'm
greatest.
all for it. Like you saw,
This is possibly the greatest college season we've ever seen. This is just unreal. I mean, he's each week his over under in rushing yards is like 210. It's insanity.
his 3 rushing touchdown lines like -120 every week.
Yeah, I mean,
And you
yeah,
can't
he's
bet
gonna.
against him like not scoring a touchdown, which he scored the last game they played. I think it was like last Friday. He scored in the fourth quarter, and that was the only time he scored. So you can't even bet against like the opposite, which I would be playing every single day of the week. But
Yeah,
yeah,
no,
I mean the way
he's going top 15 for sure.
the Eagles, though, getting back to them, we just mapped out what the Eagles and the Cowboys could do for the rest of the season. The Commanders got thrown around in there because they both still have to match up with the Commanders numerous times. Is it after the Hail Mary this past week, which we haven't even talked about yet on the ridiculous play, we had somebody taunting a Bears cornerback taunting the crowd before the play, and then
Wait, whoa. If we're gonna talk about that, we might as well. I might as well give my meatball of the week.
Okay. We can introduce it. Get in there.
Plot twist. Yesterday was Halloween, and now we have a plot twist. I guess Halloween, M. Night Shyamalan, Halloween thrillers, M. Night Shyamalan plot twist. There's the connection there. Plot twist. I have 3 meatballs of the week. I have a trio of meatballs. I have a meatball platter because there's just 3 different meatballs. I couldn't decide on one. I couldn't decide on one meatball.
So this is the meatballs of the week.
Meatballs of the week. Yes. My first meatball of the week is the Bears DB, who during the Hail Mary play was taunting the crowd instead of playing football. And they end up losing the game on the Hail Mary. He was the one who ended up getting his hand on the ball. So you got to think maybe if he was in position to begin with, he would have been able to get his hand better on it, maybe swat down rather than come flying in and kind of tip it with his hand. So that ended up possibly making the difference between a Bears win and a Bears loss. It also made the difference between the Eagles currently leading the division and being second.
I was so mad when that play happened. I've also been rooting for Caleb Williams a lot too, just because I don't know, I like Caleb Williams, and I'm rooting for Caleb Williams over Jaden Daniels in that situation. I think a lot of people were so quick to criticize Caleb Williams, so I'm always out there rooting for him. But it wasn't even just that. Just knowing that, I'm thinking to myself, oh, the Eagles are looking good right now. They're about to set themselves up with first place in the division, and then only one spot out of first place in the entire conference. And then that play happens, and I'm like, what the fuck, dude? And then what are you doing?
I was speechless.
What are you doing as a coach in that situation? Like, how do you handle that? Seeing your player taunting the crowd instead of being engaged in the game, and then a play like that ends up happening. Because at the end of the day, as much as that the distaste of that play from Tyreek Stevenson, they didn't lose that game because he was taunting the crowd. You know what I mean? That it was already a really close game to begin with. The Bears came all the way back. A Hail Mary is a Hail Mary at the end of the day. He wasn't the only defensive back that was back there, but he could have been more engaged on the play. But at the end of the day, on the other side of the sword too, if I'm a coach, I mean, I don't know if I could ever trust you to be out on that football field ever again for me.
Yeah, I think a big reason they lost that game is enough with the extra men in the secondary on Hail Mary plays. Enough with that. Send a pass rush. I've seen teams rush 1, they rush 3. I think enough of that. The biggest way to stop a Hail Mary is to not give the quarterback time to throw it.
That was the first thing my dad, a longtime high school football coach, that was the first thing that he said after he saw the play is I was saying that it was all luck, and he was saying it's not all luck when you're only rushing 3 people and your quarterback. Yeah. That was the longest time a quarterback has ever had to throw in NFL history.
I was afraid you beat Donovan McNabb's record. Damn it. Was it actually?
Isn't that crazy? That was the longest time to throw in NFL history. I think it was like almost 20
McNabb had that record for a while. Hold on. Oh, man. Let me see. Longest time. Okay, here we go. Let me try it this way. Longest time from snap to throw in NFL history. Because it was the McNabb play before. I don't know why I can't find a solid answer on that. But yeah, for many years it was the McNabb play where he rolled out right and then he went left, and I think he bombed it to Freddie Mitchell. He held that record for quite some time. I really hope you're wrong on that.
I'm pretty sure that was like one of the first.
We don't have a lot of
stats.
records here in Philadelphia.
But
We don't have a lot of records here. But
wasn't that
anyhow,
on the pass rush situation of sending more guys, didn't Zach Bond sacked Malik Willis on the last play of the game in Brazil to start the season because they sent him on the Hail Mary to blitz instead of him dropping back there.
The Lions, I think it was the Lions game as well, where they sent 5 on the final Hail Mary play. It might have been the Lions game. And they got the sack right away. There was not even a throw. I mean, you don't need that many guys in the secondary to prevent a Hail Mary. You know, it's called a Hail Mary for a goddamn reason. It's just going to be a cluster of players anyway. As long as you have enough guys out there, it's going to be fine.
Or like tell the defense that have a plan on defense and tell them there's going to be someone sagging off the back of the pile that's waiting for the tip, either in the front or the back, and like there has to be someone accounting for that. And that could have been Tyree.
Well, not only that,
more engaged in the play, but
not only that, why don't you put somebody next to him? Because once the ball is tipped, there's no passing interference after that. Once the ball is tipped, you can literally tackle him to the ground before the ball gets to him to make sure that there's no catch. You know, I feel like DBs.
I feel like there shouldn't be a tip. Like if you're going to get your hands on the ball, intercept the ball. Just like intercept it,
I obviously
try to intercept it.
You know, but you know what I mean. When it's tipped from the initial pile, the guy behind just tackle him. It's tipped. You can tackle him now. You don't got to worry about pass interference or anything like that. But anyway, we have 3 meatballs of the week to touch on. So let's move on to my next meatball of the week. The guy we already talked about, Malaki Corley. Am I saying his name right?
Malachi, brother.
Malachi Corley. I didn't actually watch the game, but I did see the highlights. Malachi Corley pulled a Deshaun Jackson at the goal line. You're not as big of a meatball as the previous meatball because your team actually ended up winning the game. But you could have had your first touchdown in the NFL.
And who says that he ever scores a touchdown in the NFL? Imagine that play goes down in history and he never scores in the NFL.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, at least with Deshaun Jackson, as you knew, he was still going to go on to have many NFL touchdowns. That could have been Malachi's only opportunity at one. And he messed it up by dropping the ball early. You can't do that. You're my second meatball of the week, third meatball of the week. I don't even know this guy's name. I don't want to know his name. I don't want to glorify him like the guys over at Barstool or like John Boy. Initially, John Boy, while watching it live, was glorifying him, but then went back on his words and released a video saying you can't do that. I'm talking about the Yankees fan who tried pride. Well, he did pride out. I'm talking about the Yankees fan who
successfully completed.
Yeah, I'm talking about the Yankees fan who pried the baseball out of Mookie Betts' glove in the World Series game. He didn't even do it in a casual way, like Mookie Betts is reaching into the crowd and he bumps his arm or something. No, he grabbed his wrist and started prying it out of the glove as the other guy then grabs his other hand. You can't do that. It's not even remotely close to something you can do. And then he looked all proud after. He was like, no, he was in my area. That's not how it works. This isn't.
I think they put out a statement after the game.
This is not banana ball. The crowd is not a part of the game. You can't touch the opposing players. You can't have an impact on the game. That's not how that works. And then you're the meatball of the week, and Barstool Sports, you're also the meatball of the week by bringing them by your office to congratulate him when that type of fan behavior should not be promoted, should not be praised. And if it were a Philly fan who, I saw somebody on Instagram talk about this, if it were a Phillies fan who did that, there would be nonstop talk for a week about how bad Philly fans are.
Yeah, definitely the perception of it would be like Philadelphia is always doing outrageous stuff. This, that, but like New York, it's like seen as funny.
Bring up Santa. They would bring up Santa
that's like an
again.
infamous player. But I think, did you see the video of Gronk saying that he knew the one dude? and he like went to Arizona University with them, and he was like on the hockey club team or something.
Yeah, I did see that actually.
So that was pretty funny. But yeah, that was pretty crazy. I didn't see the play live, but I ended up seeing the video, and I'm like trying to picture and imagine what, like, you get the ESPN headline sent to your phone and you're trying to imagine what the video could look like. And I didn't think I was going to look at the video of like Mookie Betts fully extended and getting his arm straight up just molested into the crowd. But
well, I wasn't watching the game when it happened, but I was actually on the phone with my cousin while it was happening, while he was watching the game, and I heard his reaction on the phone, and he was like, "Oh my god, these guys are like assaulting Mookie Betts." And I eventually watched the clip. I was like, "Jesus, yeah, you can't do that."
crazy. But did you watch the World Series as a whole? We'll fit some
No,
baseball topics in here
when
while
the
we
Phillies get eliminated, I can't even bring myself to watch any more baseball after that. It's just how I am. I keep up with it. I keep up with the highlights. I keep up with what's going on, but I can't. I can't watch playoff baseball after the Phillies get eliminated because I just watch it. I watch the home crowd get excited, and I just get too upset that it's not the Phillies that I'm witnessing, and I just can't even watch it.
I like watching playoff baseball regardless if it's the Phillies. Obviously, I'm more in depth and, more focused and locked in if the Phillies are in there, but I still like watching it because it's like the streakiest possible sport that you can watch, like the most, not random dudes, but just people just get so hot out of nowhere and they just go on these tears. Like Freddie Freeman hitting a home run in 6 consecutive World Series games was absolutely ridiculous. First walk-off grand slam in World Series history in Game 1. So it was a great series. Giancarlo Stanton was making a name for himself again. Tommy Edman got the NLCS MVP. So there was a lot of random stuff that was going on and happening. I mean, Freddie Freeman was somebody that really wasn't able to make an impact for the Dodgers, even though he was seen as one of the best baseball players in the world because of his injury and all the injuries that he was dealing with. And then he just comes out of nowhere and starts getting super hot and wins a World Series MVP. So it was good to see the Yankees lose, though, because Juan Soto said after the game that he's going to monitor all the situations in baseball that he could possibly get involved with. So he's going to listen to all the teams that are interested in him. So I was really happy to hear that from him, that he's not just locked in to the Yankees. And he was even more so not quote unquote what he's saying, but kind of paraphrase what he said a little bit. Someone asked him, like, is this your last time in New York? And he said he was going to monitor all the situations. So he did not give a clear coming back to New York or this, that, the other. So it seems it's going to be open, fair game. And it looks like he's going to have a crazy lucrative contract, probably in the 700 million range for a guy that's 26 years old. So I think that's going to be atop everybody's
I think it's
this offseason.
I really want the Phillies to get Juan Soto in the offseason, no matter the price. But I think it's so ridiculous that he'll be getting 700 mil because, before Juan Soto, the premier players, the Juan Sotos of the world, would get around 300, 400 mil, right? Shohei Ohtani signs his new deal. He gets around, I think it was around 700 mil because he's two players, right? He's a pitcher and he's a hitter. That's why he got double the money. We all knew that. We all knew that's why he was getting double the money. And now that's what everyone's going to be getting now. I think it's so dumb.
Well, no, I think you're overlooking the one situation is he's going to have, since of his age, like when everybody else was getting those $300 million contracts, they weren't of the same age that Juan Soto is. So
Harper was what, 26, 27? He got
yeah,
the
but
same
that's
amount.
also, you
Mike
can't compare with
Trout.
Harper. You can't compare with Machado
Mike
or
Trout was
Harper's.
around the same age as well. Mike Trout
You
was
can't
around the
compare
same age as well.
Harper and Machado signing their contract in 2018 to you can't compare Machado.
I think the main reason Juan Soto is getting this much is because that's how much Ohtani got, and I think it's stupid because we all knew at the time Ohtani was getting 700 mil because he's basically two
Yeah,
players.
but you have to look at the evolution. You have to look at the evolution of the money. There is like the contract from 2018 with Harper Machado. 6 years later, it's obviously going to be worth a lot more money.
You're acting
And
like
I think
6
even
years
at the
ago
end of
was
the
the
day, Trey
1990s.
Turner signing a huge contract for the Phillies. Like Juan Soto is a better player than Trey Turner, so that's why he's going to get more money than that.
Soto's
And
definitely
he's younger,
but how much?
so like 700 million
Did
might be
Trey
spread
Turner
out
get?
over 15 years.
How much did Trey Turner get? He got
So 330 or
He
something.
got 300 million. Yeah, like we're talking more than double. Like yeah, you can say, oh well, Juan Soto's getting more than Trey Turner because Juan Soto's the better player. Yeah, I agree with you there.
Well, you're also talking
But we're
about
talking
Juan
about more
Soto.
than double. More than double.
Juan Soto has one of the greediest agents that possible that you can have.
Why can't you just look at it as a big reason that he's getting this much is because that's how much Ohtani got. I mean, I feel like it's pretty obvious for the sudden jump.
That's the evolution of the contracts. Once one guy signs,
Yeah,
then
I know,
other
but that's
people are
what
going
I'm
to sign, even if
saying,
it's not
though.
as
But
much.
that's what
Even
I'm
if it's the
saying,
best,
though. It's an insinuating circumstance. You know, it's
even
not.
if you're the best player in your
It's
position.
not. You can't just look at it like in basketball or in NFL or with every other single other player in the MLB, where that's the evolution of the contract, where one guy gets a ton of money, so then the next guy gets that much as well. That's how it typically goes in sports, right? That's the evolution of the contract that you're talking about. But this was a special circumstance that Ohtani got this much money because he's a pitcher and a hitter. It's not, you know what I mean? If Ohtani got 700 million, if Ohtani got 700 million as just a hitter, and now Juan Soto is getting 700 million, I would not argue with it at all. But there's two bottom lines here. There's two bottom lines. I think you can agree with both of them. Bottom line number one, Ohtani got 700 million because he's a pitcher and a hitter. Bottom line number two, Juan Soto is getting 700 million because that's what Ohtani got. And I don't think you can. Those are the two bottom lines, and I don't think you can disagree with either of them.
Yeah, but you're just like playing more into the meaning of the evolution of the contracts of this player signs for that and sets the benchmark for pretty much everybody. But at the end of the day, Juan Soto might not get as much money as Shohei, but he might get around the same money. It's kind of like how Justin Jefferson set the contracts for wide receivers, but he's the best wide receiver. So people are going to get close to it, but not get the same contract, just like CeeDee Lamb signed for a little bit less.
Let me put it like this. Because I think while you're talking about wide receivers, a good comparison to Shohei Ohtani in that department is Travis Hunter, the guy who plays wide receiver and corner. So if Travis Hunter goes in the NFL, he's playing great on both sides of the ball, and he gets a new contract, and he's being paid a wide receiver salary plus a DB salary all rolled into one, then should that mean that the rest of the wide receiver market should be centered around that contract? No. These are special circumstances. And I just think it's nuts that the rest of the market is revolving around these special contracts because or saying these because it's a hypothetical scenario, but I just don't think the market should center around a contract
Well,
that
if
went
anybody is going to capitalize
based
on a
on
market
someone
like
being two players rolled into one.
If anybody's going to capitalize and exploit a market like that, it's going to be Scott Boras. So I hope you know that. He's also the guy that wanted to extend Bryce Harper on his contract as well before the season started too. So, and then that died down a little bit after there was a lot of backlash to that. But he's one of the greatest agents in the game of any sports agencies, of regardless of what sport. So he's going to be somebody that's really trying to exploit that. You got a guy busting into his prime that's played in a couple World Series, has experience, has won a World Series, one of the best hitters in the game, at the perfect age, everything. Every team's going to be interested, plays a premier position. There's not too many players that are like him, and he's a lefty bat. I mean, he marks all the boxes. So I'm not saying he's as good as Shohei Ohtani, where he should make as much, but Here's
the thing. In terms of hitting, you can compare him to Shohei Ohtani. Okay, he gets on base more than anyone in the league. But you know what Ohtani can do that Soto can't do? Pitch. Ohtani also pitches. Juan Soto is not taking the mound. Ohtani is. That's the big difference. That's the whole point.
I mean, well, at the end of the day, when he signed that contract, Shohei Ohtani, it was going to be known that there was going to be certain years that he wasn't going to pitch coming off this injury. So we don't even know when he's going to
just going to be this year, if I'm not mistaken. But either way, it's a very long-term contract. He's going to spend more seasons on that contract pitching than not pitching. So. Yeah, I listen. Juan Soto,
this is also different.
Of a hitter, is close to Ohtani, but in terms of a player, is not close because Ohtani also pitches.
Okay, well, the benchmark for contracts in the MLB is not just going to stay at $400 million for forever. People are going to exceed that.
Obviously, it's going to evolve, but I don't.
And the other thing that you keep talking about Shohei Ohtani as a player. You keep talking about him as a player, and you keep reiterating the exact same thing that you keep saying. But at the end of the day, one thing that you haven't said yet is there's no salary cap in baseball. So that's why teams are willing to pay that because they have that money at their expense.
By that logic, you could by that logic, the next hot free agent to hit the market, the agent can say, you know what? I want $2 billion. And then the other teams are just going to have to be like, okay.
Dude, if there was no salary cap,
if he wants $2 billion.
If there was no salary caps in other sports, I mean, someone would have gave Patrick Mahomes a $1.5 billion contract already.
Oh, come on. Now you're just getting ridiculous.
Well,
there's a difference between no salary cap and infinite money. 1.5 billion. Anyhow,
I mean, he made $500 million off his last contract. If there was no salary cap, somebody would have paid him.
So you're talking about without salary cap, it should be tripled? That's insane. Do you know how much money 1.5 billion is?
I mean, someone's going to pay that for
Patrick Mahomes' the insanity there? Anyhow, I gotta get out of here. Since real quick, let's touch on the Sixers. Still no Joel Embiid and a loss to the Detroit Pistons. How much do you hate? How much do you hate? How much do you hate? How much do you hate this? Because I hate it a lot.
Well, I mean, they've lost a couple games like that. They lost to the Raptors as well when they were favored in that game, and I kind of just didn't see why they would be favored as much as they were in these games. I think these teams, I mean, the Sixers, the thing about them is like they obviously have extremely talented role players. They have a really good roster when they're fully healthy. But if you're down to one of your three stars, you have a lot of missing pieces right there. And there's just guys that can't really take over by themselves. And it just turns into Tyrese Maxey show. I mean, Tyrese had what? He set the record for most field goal attempts for a 76ers player in history over the first three games. I think it was like 90. And the one game that they won this year, they had to go into overtime, and they beat the Pacers on Sunday, and Tyrese dropped 45. But there's not too much going on around that. I mean, Kelly Oubre's been pretty good. Caleb Martin has been decent, but you can't expect these guys to go out there and match Tyrese Maxey's stardom and make the same impact that a Paul George or a Joel Embiid would make. So the good thing is Paul George and Joel Embiid both participated, were full participants in practice today, but they're still not going to play.
I don't even want to hear it. You know, they said they were going to both debut against the Pistons. That's what we had originally heard. And they both missed that game. I don't want to hear when they're expected to be back anymore, you know, similar to what I have said about them winning the second round. I'll believe it when I see it. I'll believe that they're back once I see them back on the court. But I do think a big issue with this team right now, especially without Joel Embiid, is an issue that I expressed going into the season is outside the center position. They have no size, and they got absolutely out rebounded against Detroit. I just pulled up the number. It was I already forget. Wow. What was it? 37-49 in rebounding. They lost that rebounding battle. Yeah. 49 to 37. They just have no size outside the center position. I think rebounding is going to be. I mean, they allowed Tobias Harris to get 12 rebounds in an NBA game. That can't happen. And I don't think that's an issue that's going to be fixed until when Paul George and Embiid come back. Because it's not like you're adding Embiid's rebounding on top of Andre Drummond because they're on the court at different times. Paul George, he's larger than a lot of the players currently on the roster, but he doesn't really offer rebounding. That's never been part of his game.
I can see them
rebounding,
when Paul George comes back. I can see him running at the 4 at times with Andre Drummond on maybe like the second unit when they're spelling Joel just to keep some talent out there. I could see that happening. But you make a good point about the rebounding. There's not too many rebounders on the roster. I think Caleb Martin's like the second in average of rebounders behind Andre Drummond, but they need to be able to rebound the ball, especially when they get fully healthy. But I think one of the most alarming statistics is they don't have a guy averaging more than 5 assists. And it just shows the ball's not really moving around too much. And it's just like I said, it's pretty much when you watch the games, it is what it is. It's exactly what your eyes are telling you. It's exactly the eye test that you're seeing is that it's pretty much just the Tyrese Maxey show the entire time. And he's just trying to create and do everything out there. And there's not many guys that they can lean on outside of that.
It feels like the Allen Iverson days. And not the good Allen Iverson days, not the 01 Sixers, the years after that, like 05, 06, 04, when it's literally just Allen Iverson. And he's chucking up a ton of shots, putting up a lot of points while the rest of the team isn't offering a whole lot. And they're a mediocre team. That's what it feels like all over again to me. And it's just the Tyrese Maxey version of that.
Yeah, well, I mean, at the end of the day, assist shouldn't be an issue for a team that has that many guards at their disposal. I mean, look at all the guys that they have at their disposal that they can use. So,
and that's the problem. This team is too guard heavy. I expressed my concern with this throughout the offseason. They just kept adding guard after guard after guard, and everybody's like, and it felt like it kind of felt like the Family Guy scene with James Woods, where he's like, "Ooh, piece of candy." Ooh, piece of candy. Like it felt like with each guard they added, people were like, oh wow, we just got this guy. Oh wow, we just got that guy. Oh wow, now we got that guy.
Yeah, but the thing at the end of the day is
we need size.
I know. I liked all the players that they got.
Guards we're bringing in, we need size.
And I think the issue is they see guys. They see guys being like versatile and being tweeners. Like they see Paul George can be a 2 through a 4. They can see Eric Gordon can be a 2 or a 3. But at the end of the day, they're kind of lacking in size and athleticism.
I think that's fine, but you need an actual 4 on the roster.
Well, apparently, have you seen the rumors
that I talked about this before. Sorry, not to cut you off, but I talked about this before, where it's fine to run smaller lineups at certain points in the game, but you still need to be able to run a normal sized lineup. You still need a normal sized 4 out there. You can't just look at it like, oh, wow, this team is having success because they run a small lineup at certain points in the game. Small lineups the way to go, and then you center your team around a small lineup. You need to actually have an actual 4 that you can put out there, especially because you're going to have matchups in the playoffs where you're going to face this team that has great size and rebounding. And if you don't have size to combat with that, and all you have is a small lineup, then you're in trouble. You have to have actual size to be able to fall back on. You can't just be constricted to the small lineup.
Well, I mean, I just don't think they have a starting level guy at that position. I do like the 4 rotation as of now.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. They need one. That's
Ubaselli, or however you say his name, Ubaselli has been playing pretty well against the 20 tonight. AJ Martin plays pretty well and is a young guy that's talented, but he's also only 6'6", and Ubaselli's only 6'8". Those are the guys that pretty much hold down the 4. Caleb Martin sometimes holds it down, but he's undersized as well. So they don't have a true number 4 guy. There was rumors that they could be interested in Jonathan Kuminga. That would give them a really talented guy that was like a former lottery pick, but they would probably have to give up a decent amount, something that's like close to like maybe an OG Anunoby package, like to get him from the Warriors. He's not starting for the Warriors anymore, even with the injuries that they have to their main players right now. So there's some options out there, but what the roster is right now, I mean, it's pretty much they just don't have anybody that's on the same level as Tyrese Maxey. And I think that they thought they would have a lot of variety with all the stars playing together. But when they don't have that, it just looks like it's the same Tyrese Maxey show all over again. So I just, I would like to see them be able to get more people involved, get Kelly Oubre steady shots. Get Caleb Martin, if they're going to be down with all these injuries, get Caleb Martin involved, get Andre Drummond involved on offense, and just be able to work the ball around more, because not having a guy averaging more than 5 assists and just having all these guards and people that can facilitate but not actually moving the ball around is not team basketball, and it's not going to produce wins or any production for the Sixers.
Yeah. Well, anyway, that should do it for today's episode. Zach, do your outro.
Yes, sir. That should do it for episode. Which number do you think we're on?
Under elevation 5280 or total?
No, Paisan Sports podcast. It's kind of a milestone podcast today. It's
60?
not a specific number, but
is it 60?
No, you're close though.
69.
No.
Nah. I don't know, 55.
70. Number 70.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, because I remember last week you said 69, and I said, nice. Wow, 70 already. Wow, crazy.
70 is a lot. So yeah, I think it's April. So that's like 6 months. This is like somewhere in the mid 20s to 30s with Elevation 5280 Sports. So we appreciate them. We're doing the fantasy league, but Dante's team's looking a lot better than mine. I'm 1-7 in the fantasy league under Elevation 5280 Sports. I think Dante's floating around 500 and has a chance of making the playoffs.
Floating around 500. I'm 5-3. Give me more credit than that.
I mean, you're going down this week, so you're going to be 5-4. You're going to lose to
but you know what? Quick closing remark. Okay. I don't know who it is in Elevation 528. I mean, I see all the different podcasters on the Instagram and the YouTube account, but I don't know who actually is Capalot in our fantasy league. What's your problem, man? I see you each week when I'm looking at the scores. You don't set your lineup. You got multiple guys in your lineup who are on their bye week or out with injury, and you end up putting up like 60 points each week. You're 1-7. Then I go up against you. All of a sudden, you want to set your lineup?
Lock in.
What did I
sent him a
do
message.
to
I told you. I sent him a message, and I told him, "Yo,
you sent him a message."
Yeah, you're going against my co-host.
What are you trying to get me set up? What's your problem?
I actually have a trade.
You couldn't wait until after my matchup with him. You had to
I
tell him now.
I have a trade set up with him.
Who cares what you got? You gonna wait until after I faced him?
Well, I mean, after those three times you made me the highlight of your segments, I thought that I had to intervene and step in and do something to gain some pride back. So I thought, messing with you a little bit. I actually have a trade set up with him now to give him Saquon before you guys play each other. So
what are you doing? Don't give him Saquon. Why would you even trade away Saquon? First of all,
I mean, I'm out of the race, so I'll give.
Yeah, but blowing up your team to help other teams is a huge fantasy no-no. You can't do that. That's a big.
You think that's against the Cardinal rules? That's like an unwritten rule.
Yeah, absolutely. You can't do that.
I mean, I'm somebody that I'm.
No, if you're out, you're out.
I didn't message him. I didn't send any trade requests. I didn't do any of that. But that is funny that he ironically randomly set his lineup the week versus you because maybe he watches the podcast or something.
It's nonsense.
A personal vendetta against you. So
I don't know what it is.
But yeah, that'll wrap it up for today. We'll be back next week. We'll be back probably in just a few days because we had to do this podcast late. We had some stuff come up during the week, but we'll be back at the top of the week, probably just like I said, in a few days to review. Maybe the Sixers will have their stars playing at that point. Maybe we'll hear some Juan Soto to the Phillies rumors ramp up, and we'll hopefully be celebrating another Eagles victory and moving forward with their schedule for the season. So for me and Dante today, thank you guys for tuning in.